Greetings, Earthlings, wisdom keepers, wisdom seekers. Welcome back to WizdomDropz, your source for daily drops of wisdom and savvy cat astrology. My name is Tonia, and today we are discussing Mercury retrograde. So far, we are in the middle of a Mercury retrograde cycle. If you're not already aware, Mercury retrograde has been in full effect for a little bit of time here, people, like at least a week of solid, like, damn, Mercury's been retrograde, you know what I mean? And we have a couple more weeks to go. And so I'm talking about the energy of that, the experience that I have witnessed so far around this particular Mercury retrograde and how it just connects with the Mercury retrograde cycles. So if you want to learn more about that, you want to talk about that, that's what we is talking about today. We're about to look at the chart just to kind of look at some of the vibe and see what's going on there. And just really kind of like, you know, talk about Mercury retrograde and the significance, because it's always so fascinating to like sit there and live through a Mercury retrograde, right? Because you know, you'd be like, damn, is Mercury retrograde? And then sure enough, it is. So we're just gonna talk about it. Okay, we're gonna talk about it. Now, before I get into it, you are welcome to subscribe if you're not already subscribed to this platform. We put out a video every single day of the week, so you can be here for it as I am here for that and for you. And we're growing this really groovy conscious community, and I love getting comments from all the dope people who watch this. It makes me want to get everybody in a room together and have a little conversation, which reminds me, sprinkle in a little like quasi promo for coming up. I'm gonna have a free webinar coming up. I have not set the exact date yet, but if there is an upcoming lunation that's a new moon or a full moon that you know you would love to like sit and vibe and astrologize and just nerd out together in a little group of people who join us for a webinar that is free to you to join, then let me know what that lunation event is in the near future. Be like, hey, this moon, that moon, there's a Virgo moon that has my attention and it's coming up, just saying. But let me know in the comments down below, because I am crafting that as we speak. And I'm so looking forward to joining more of you who are there in these comments with these really profound thoughts in a shared space, so that people can talk with each other and we'll actually have like a real sense of community that's like beyond just your interaction with me and like the occasional comment in the comment box with other people. Anyway, I just thought that was fun and kind of wanted to put that on your radar, like there's something going on here for the future. Stay tuned. Now, back to the topic at hand, Mercury retrograde. Ironic. Hello. Mercury retrograde has to do with going deeper into thoughts, going deeper into reflections, okay, and going deeper into one's communications. So it can be easier to talk in certain ways under a Mercury retrograde. Just as much as it can be easier to talk, it can be harder to get to the clear point, or it can be harder to communicate, requiring more communication to get there. It's almost as if you need to go around in a circle to get to the point when Mercury is retrograde. So with that said, you can like this video. Do you like how that connected? You can like this video because it helps more people get this information for free. And that's groovy. We like that. We like disseminating information for free. It's part of this radical awakening, the dawning of the age of Aquarius. And people are into astrology now because we're remembering our ancient roots, and astrology is dope. I think I called it astrology. Astrology is dope. Okay, let's share our screen. Thanks for the support. Thanks for all the likes. Thanks for sharing this with people and supporting our channel. That's cool. So anyway, we have here Mercury, and is currently retrograde at 21 degrees of Aquarius. Super interesting. I actually haven't looked at when this is going Kazemi, and I'm gonna start looking at that now because the sun is gonna cross over it. But Mercury is retrograde in Aquarius, and while I'm figuring that out, let me just tell you what I've been experiencing. I'm actually going to school right now, if people care or want to know, for landscape architecture. And so in that process, I have been doing a lot of online learning. And so when I am learning online, it has been quite the process of everybody having to explain themselves very like deeply, like what is going on with the world, where we're just having to talk more, okay, to figure out different basic things. That, my friends, is called Mercury retrograde. When you have the need to discuss more fully a topic in order to troubleshoot something, okay, in order to like get to the point of something. That is called Mercury retrograde. When you have to reflect over the issues and the challenges, okay, especially different technological programs, for example, that is very Mercury retrograde territory. That is something where you're having to reflect and refine and discuss even further about a given topic because it's not clear. It's not Mercury direct. When Mercury is direct, it's just doing exactly what it needs to do. It's just being honestly like who it needs to be in order to exist at a communications based level. And so when you do have that experience happening, what you have is I'm giving up on figuring out Kazemi. Should I give up? This is Mercury retrograde. It's forcing me to get serious with it. I think it's because the Mercury is going further retrograde, if you see here. So the sun and Mercury, they cross paths at some point. Like we have 19 degree sun, 20 degree Mercury. Here we have 19 degree, 20 degree still, 19 degree, 20 degree, 1920 still, 1920 still, 1821. Okay, so somewhere in here we had the sun crossed over. This is a classic example of Mercury retrograde. You know what? I'm not even going to worry about it like that. Maybe it's just not meant to happen. I'm just going to drive myself nuts and getting people all sorts of crazy watching me flip through this. We're just going to talk about Mercury retrograde. At some point in time, y'all, this is getting purified by the sun. And during that process, our communications are going to get a hardcore reality check, and a purity check. And basically by the end of this Mercury retrograde cycle, which is ending in 2 weeks time, more or less, okay? Not this coming Sunday, the Sunday after, if I'm not mistaken. This is going to be done with its majority of what it's doing, but it requires like this more communication thing I've been talking about. It requires us to think more deeply and get more intensive in our thoughts and in our communications because things aren't as straightforward. Mercury is normally like this darty little planet that interweaves all over the place. It's not necessarily like Martian in that it's like straight to the objective and I'm like an arrow, right? Like Mars is. You can see it's literally like an arrow, straight to the point. Mercury is exploratory. Mercury is more balanced and open-minded than that. Look at its top, its mind, its crown is open, literally. So when you look at Mercury as a glyph, that's the planetary symbol you see here, and you see that it's retrograde, it's like things that function normally are even deeper. They require even more effort and work, retrograde, than they normally would. And so retrograde means different. It's not the same. So communications, you're used to them functioning one way, and then retrograde comes up and it's like, oh shit, wait a minute, changing gears, go back in retro, go behind, go reverse, to figure something out. And it's usually like a process of going more internal as a result. Anytime you see an R next to a planet and it's retrograde, it looks in the heavens as if it's 3 times closer to us, but it's processed 3 times as more deeply at an internal level. So you're going to have to think deeper. You're going to have to communicate deeper. You're going to have to think more deeply about how you're communicating. And it's in Aquarius, so it's groups of people. That's why I brought up my online learning experiences before, because in these groups of people there's all this like refiguring out and rethinking and refining, and it's normal for the type of program I'm in, right, for that to happen. But it's been like painstaking. Like today I had a class that was supposed to be 3 hours. We were there 4.5 hours. It's like, dude, that's nuts, because Mercury is retrograde. They're still figuring out how to communicate. Everybody had their problems to troubleshoot, and we were there to communicate and ponder and sit with all of our tech crap. Mercury retrograde, insane. You know what I'm saying? It's insane. In the sign of Aquarius, groups of people. So what groups of people are you a part of where you're learning this Mercury retrograde expression, even if it's not a higher education thing? Obviously, what groups of people are you a part of where you are learning things together in a community, or where you are learning about people's experiences? And Aquarius is a very learning centered sign, and Mercury is a very learning centered planet. So I am using the word learning, even though I'm not talking about like, not everybody's in like college, which I think is great because college is a huge money thing, and I understand why a lot of people don't go, and I don't I don't look down or dismiss anybody who chooses not to go, but for me, it was just a decision that made sense in my life, you know. But without explaining that to everybody on the internet, I will just say that, you know, this is a very thought-provoking energy, and it is a very curiosity-provoking energy. So if you find yourself more curious than ever about something and you just want to dive deeply into learning something and experiencing something and communicating something, I encourage you to indulge. The next 2 weeks, it's a great time to go explore things that are like hidden knowledge and all these different deep Aquarius quirky things even. And the sun is here to illuminate the whole situation. So it's helping you bring like deeper truths to the surface about the way society is even structured and works, okay? So there's something for your reflection, your Mercury retrograde reflection. And, you know, I'm interested to hear what your Mercury retrograde experiences have been. Let me know what Mercury retrograde in Aquarius has been for you. Do you find you're talking about really quirky things, Aquarius, that you never would have talked about before? Do you find that you're more engaged in your social groups than you were before? Do you find that your existing social groups that you're a part of, networks, are more talkative than usual? Are they demanding more communications from you, more emails, more texts, more calls, whatever? What is going on in your work environment? The 11th house also rules like associates, you know, larger groups that your company or your workforce works with, or people in your network who you know. What's going on there? What shifts are happening there that are demanding your reflection? And I guarantee at the end of this like cycle of Mercury retrograde in a couple weeks time, when it goes forward moving, you're going to see some result from things that were put into action now in reference to these groups of people that I'm talking about. It's all Aquarius. It's social systems, you know? So if you have social systems, and you can get even more specific with the house in your chart that it rules, you know, look at what house or house says if you're combining whole sign with Placidus house system, okay? How are you comparing those houses in your chart for this experience of this energy? That is a good question to sit with and say, look, what house is this happening in for yourself? But I'm just talking about the general energy of Mercury and Aquarius retrograde. So it's something to do with the rethinking your views on society and rethinking how you're a part of your social networks and stuff. So let me know how it's going for you, because we are in the thick of it. I am super curious to hear your real life IRL Mercury retrograde stories. And with that said, through next time, until next time, may the stars be with you. Peace.